Good afternoon, comrades. I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us to address this solidarity rally with the Venezuelan people. In response to the vicious, old-style colonial attack on Venezuela on January 3rd, 2026, the National Office of the CUPW issued a statement joining with other trade unions across Canada and worldwide in condemning the brutal attack on Venezuela's sovereignty in breach of international law and the UN Charter. It was a timely statement, especially in light of such a major attack on the Venezuelan people and their ongoing efforts to build a democratic, anti-imperialist nation with progressive social conditions and institutions to meet the needs of the Venezuelan people. Our union has special relations with the Venezuelan workers and people, which we have maintained through regular contact and exchange about our struggles. This is our international solidarity, and as it assists us in learning from the Venezuelan people and their struggles, which has inspired us here in Canada to push forward with our own struggles for success right here at home. The brutality of the bombing of Venezuela on January 3rd, 2026, which emphasis being placed on the kidnapping of the country's president and his wife, cannot hide the crimes of American imperialism, which did widespread bombing and damage to the defenses of the country, killed at minimum 100 people, utilizing typically old-style colonial barbarity in doing so. This attack was an attempt to intimidate the peoples of the Caribbean and Latin America into not opposing the U.S. imperialist domination of the resources and peoples of the region. But it did not succeed. Despite the terror attack, which followed months of killing fisherfolk in the waters of Venezuela, the dominant sentiment among Caribbean people to this day remains opposed to U.S. imperialism and its all-round aggression in the area, and to maintain the Caribbean as a zone of peace. This can be seen from the demonstrations, the protests of various kinds, and the opinions being expressed by the working people in the Caribbean against U.S. aggression, and in the solidarity with the need to protest this assault on the territorial integrity and independence of Venezuela. This reaction from the working people is a sharp contrast to the few neo-colonial lapdogs in the Caribbean and in the general neighborhood who shamelessly sided with Trump in carrying out this attack in the hope that they will get some favors from the Americans. Among these favors we are now finding out is from the seizure of the oil, which is going on now, Venezuela's oil, which is now being held at the ports in the Caribbean, the former ports which were wide open, such as in Curacao, where Venezuela in the past did a lot of its refining of oil, or in St. Lucia. These places were being used as terminals back in the 70s for oil coming in from various places, or in the Bahamas. Now they have been given a kind of trade deal whereby the U.S. will hold the oil in these countries until it is sold on the international market. Brothers and sisters, our support for the Venezuelan people must remain firm, and we must do everything to assist them in defeating American imperialist aggression and in defending their sovereignty and their right to live under a system that they see fit to be of benefit to their people. We should not get caught up in the childish debate sponsored by the U.S. imperialists themselves immediately following the bombing and aggression. The Venezuelan people are standing firm and in readiness and are in fact fighting all the machinations of American imperialism. The fact that the U.S. is continuing the aggression by capturing the exports of oil is further evidence of the old-style colonialism which they practice for many years against several countries in the Caribbean. How many times in the past have the U.S. invaded countries in Latin America and the Caribbean and taken over their revenue collection departments and appropriated that money to themselves?
Shame.
This was done many years ago on a continuous basis. This is what is being reintroduced and considered by the press and others as being something modern. This is not something modern. Theft of people's products is old in the U.S. history. The mere forced trade of oil by the U.S. cannot bring us to the conclusion that this is a sellout to imperialism by the Venezuelan government. This is the trend which is going on and a debate which is taking place. Nor can it be justified with the American claim that they're taking back monies arising from past nationalization of oil resources which belong to the people of Venezuela, and this nationalization was done since the 70s, not even with the modern regime in power. At the time that the Venezuelan people were under the most reactionary governments, those governments were nationalizing the oil. So it's not a question of going back. It's not a question of going back. It is a question that U.S. imperialism does not want the Venezuelan people, like they have done since Comrade Chavez took power. They do not want them to live independent, to have an independent mind of their own, like, for instance, the solidity of the support which Venezuela has given to the people of Palestine in the last 2 years of struggle. All over Caracas, there have been rallies of various kinds in support of it, very boldly in the face of U.S. imperialism. The U.S. is using all of this as a sort of revenge to get back at Venezuela. What is going on right now is brazen theft and robbery on the high seas by this old-style colonialism. American imperialism has been reduced to acting as an old-style colonial commission agent, which collected the raw agricultural and mineral resources from the countries of the Caribbean and Latin America, sold it on the world market, and then returned a few dollars to the colonies for the slaves or for the indentured and inhabitants to survive. Barely enough for them to survive. This is nothing progressive, and there is nothing progressive by reintroducing this method of rule. It means that imperialism has reached quite a desperate stage if they are reintroducing these old methods of governing. So for those traitors who are claiming the system being set up by the U.S. in Venezuela, or its plans to violate Cuba, Colombia, Mexico, and any part of the Caribbean as something good or progressive, I say eternal shame to anyone who wants to put this forward as something good. This is nothing good for the people of the Caribbean. It is something imperialism has never fed any people without them fighting to achieve it. In closing, I call on all supporters of independent nations, all those who are against neocolonial domination, and who are in favor of the peoples deciding on their own destination and their own systems of government, to stand in support of the heroic Venezuelan people. In that sense, I join with the brother who came before me to condemn the complicity of the Canadian government in supporting the Americans in what they're doing and what they have been doing since September throughout the Caribbean, of wantonly they've killed well over 120 people by blowing up their fishing boats in the seas. The Canadian government is of the opinion that the Americans are mature enough to know when they are violating international law, and Canada is taking no stand in speaking out against what the Americans are doing. It's a shameful thing. Let us stand against U.S. colonial and imperialist domination and theft in Venezuela. Long live the Bolivarian Revolution in Venezuela. Thank you very much.